Hello all, welcome back to Uncommon Geeks. Myself Fasant. I hope you all doing well. In case if you see me first time on the internet, I'm a content creator. I help people to clear the interview. Like I always have made a lot of beautiful series in the past, which has been appreciated by many. I'll try to add link to those series somewhere on the screen, also in the description section. Please go ahead and watch it. Any sort of front-end interview you're preparing, this will be definitely helpful for you. Okay. Now, as you already know, I have got close to 1.1k subscribers on YouTube. As a part of the love and the blessing that you are given, and I've accomplished it in a very short span, I'm trying to give something back. So I'm taking few free mock interviews. Okay. And in today's episode, I'll be interviewing a very senior developer. His name is Deepak. So I'll be interviewing him. I mean, interviewing as in I'll be taking the interview of him with a basic JavaScript and React. Let's see how the interview goes. Let's get started. Yeah. So, hi Deepak. As you already know, this is regarding the mock interview with the JavaScript and React. I'll start by giving basic introduction of mine. Then I'll take your introduction. Then I'll give a brief overview about the overall interview process. Then we shall get started. Okay. As you know, I'm Vasant. I'm a YouTuber. I work as a front-end developer. I have a good knowledge on both web and the mobile application development. Uh, and this interview very specifically, as we have decided to be mock interview of JavaScript and React, we have a half an hour time where in the first half, let us try to delve into concepts where I'll be asking you a few questions on JavaScript and React concepts. And remaining 15 minutes to 15-20 minutes, I'll share certain snippets with you and you need to be predicting the output of it. So whenever you're predicting, I'll touch base on some more concepts in depth. Okay. So that's all from my end regarding myself and the interview process. Can I please get your introduction, Deepak? Your skills, your
Yeah,
aspirations. Yeah.
yeah, sure. So I'm Deepak Chandani, and I have around 8 years of experience working as a full stack developer.
Wonderful.
I started my journey from jQuery days, and then I worked on different frameworks as JS ecosystem kept
Correct.
evolving. So I worked on Angular JS, and then I worked on Backbone JS. And from past 3 or 4 years, I've been working in React JS majorly.
Got it.
And that's a brief about my journey, and I'm aspiring for product-based companies where
Wonderful.
I can utilize my knowledge and work on some challenging stuffs that they are building.
Wonderful.
That's what I want. Yeah.
Sure. Sure, Deepak. Clean neat introduction. Thanks for the same. Okay. Let's get started with the extreme basics, Deepak. Okay. So
Mhm.
please tell me what is the hosting in JavaScript?
All right. Hosting is so what happens is when JavaScript engine gets a program to be executed, it runs uh, it it runs that program in two phases. So first one is the creation phase, in which it basically scans what is inside the code, and then the interpreter comes into a second phase, which is the execution phase, in which line by line it executes all the program that we have written. So in the creation phase, what happens that first, when we given a program file to interpreter, then in the creation phase, all the variable declarations are hoisted to the top of the program. So they are basically, say, suppose we have 10 lines in the program, and on the fifth line, you are creating a variable. So on those top four lines, what happens is you can use that variable x in those 4 lines. Why? Because hoisting is happening. So JavaScript engine uh, creates a separate space for those variables, even though they are defined at the bottom of the file. But it, in the scanning process, it creates them and declares them or initializes them with undefined value. um, this is hoisting basically.
Got it. So what you said is absolutely right, Deepak. I'll just add certain variations to it. You confirm whether what I'm saying is right or wrong. So hosting is a process, like you said, it's moves to the top of the block. So I'll add just small one more word into it. Does it really move the declaration to the top of the block, or it just appears to move the declaration to the top of the block?
It appears to.
Correct. Why
It
it appears
appears.
to move and why it doesn't really move?
Um, um, it doesn't really moves. I can say that uh, because it doesn't really moves, because we know that it's not happening. Like the JavaScript engine is not changing the code that we have provided to him.
Exactly. Yes.
And yeah, so that's I'm feeling.
Correct. What you're saying is correct, Deepak. Basically, like you said, it doesn't move because there is nobody sitting in the background who will take our variable from line number 8 and move it to line
uh,
number 2. Correct. Just
right.
because of the memory allocation, the variables can be accessed even before they are declared. It seems to be like that. Correct. So just the appearing, not the actual movement. Good. Okay. Please tell me what are closures, Deepak?
Yeah, so closures in JavaScript are happen when we have say suppose we have an outer function and we have an inner function.
Hmm.
Now that outer function is returning an inner function which will be later executed. The inner will be later executed.
Hmm.
And what happens is, because we know that the inner function will be executed later in some time, but it can use some of the variables which were local to that outer function,
Correct.
so the parent function.
Correct.
And due to that, JavaScript has to keep some closure. So in this scenario, closure happens where the even if the outer function was execution was completed,
Hmm.
but still the inner function has access to the variables defined inside the outer function. So that's a scenario where closures happen.
Absolutely. It's absolutely right. Can you give me one real-time example, Deepak, where closures can be used?
Yeah, so I've seen in some of the scenarios like there is a module pattern in JavaScript where what happens is people used to uh, like we can create a module in which we want some private variables to be there, and we want to return some of the functions which we want to expose them so that the user of those module can utilize those functions. And i- in a simple example, we can say that, say suppose we have a function which has a counter, and then it returns two functions for adding and deleting, but the value of counter is accessible only to that module, not to the external
Hmm.
user.
Okay.
This somewhere.
This is right. Can you give me any practical example that you think of? This one you said is fine. Anything maybe in a
Yeah.
little broader perspective? You know anything?
Yeah. um, I think one example can be where I actually use where we all use it regularly is that in React, what happens, we create a hook,
Correct.
or we create a component,
Hmm.
and in that component we create a function, or say suppose we are creating a custom component,
Hmm.
custom hook, sorry. And in that we create a variable, but we have access to that variable inside some of the utility functions which we are returning from that custom hook.
Hmm. Hmm.
So say suppose you are creating a custom hook to fetch something,
Got it.
fetch from say suppose use fetch,
Hmm.
and in that you create some is loading and other variables or other state
Hmm.
variables,
Yeah.
and those state variables can be used inside the click handlers also.
Hmm. Hmm.
So what essentially we are doing is we are using a local variable of the parent function, that is outer function, inside an inner one.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, not wrong. Can be little improvised, but no issues, Deepak. Can you tell me what is function currying in JavaScript? CURRYING currying.
Yeah. um okay. Currying is, yeah, so in currying what happens is, we say suppose we have a function which takes some arguments, and then we want that function to be partially executed. So say suppose like it, I'll take an example and that will make it easier.
Sure.
So suppose we have a add function,
Hmm.
and add function takes multiple arguments, let's
Hmm.
say 3 or 4 arguments,
Correct.
and we want to curry it. So in currying, what happens is when you pass that function from a curried function, then what we get is a new function which can be invoked with single parameter. So say suppose a, b, c were passed to the original function, and the curried function can be executed partially. So
Hmm.
you can pass one and then two, and then it will return a new function which can be invoked by passing three.
Correct. Correct. What you said is correct. Basically, currying is not like a fundamental concept. Like there is not much of a documentation related to it in developer Mozilla. So it doesn't have a appropriate definition. Like what you explained was right. I'm coming that way. Because many in the interview they try to find a definition. There is no absolute definition as such. So it's more like explanation with a definition. Okay. Sure. Tell me what are pure components in React, Deepak?
Yeah, so pure components in React. Okay, so hmm, um, yeah, so in React, what happens is whenever we whenever we change the props, whenever a component's prop is changed or a state is changed, state is inside that component only, but props are passed from outside.
Hmm.
So whenever the prop is changed, so the parent component might be providing some prop and then later on it provided new value of that prop. That time component re-renders.
Hmm.
And and usually what happens is it's a default behavior, but
Hmm.
sometimes what we want is we want that component to re-render only when we receive a new prop,
Hmm.
new value of the prop,
Hmm.
and we want to skip the re-rendering whenever the same props are being passed,
Got it.
right? So in that case, we create a component. We can say that the component that we want is a pure component, which only re-renders when when the props are changing. And by default, in class components, there is a pure component class which from which we extend and create a new
Correct.
component.
Correct.
Uh,
In functional components, how you will create pure components in functional components?
okay. Uh, this pure behavior can be achieved in the functional components in React by using React.
Correct. React.memo you can definitely use for creating the functional component, pure components in with the help of functional component. Correct. I'll ask you a practical example, Deepak. Tell me, let's say you have a pure component inside a parent component, and you are passing a prop called x. Okay. The value of x was 10 before. Now the parent component has re-rendered. Due to some reason, the value of x has been changed from 10 to 10 again. Some processing happened, but x is still 10. But there is a set state of x has happened. Okay. Now, will the pure component re-render or not?
Okay. Um, I'll need a
Sure.
repeat of that.
Got it.
Sorry. Yeah.
So you
Can
have, yeah, there's a parent component and a child component inside that parent component, and the child component is a pure component. Okay.
you?
So child component is taking a prop called x. Okay, whose value by default was 10. And during some processing, the x value is recomputed, but even the recomputed value is also 10. Okay, but there is a set state has been called for that x with a new value of 10. Okay, old also
Mhm.
10, new also 10. Will the pure component re-render or not?
Okay. So we have a child component which was previously also receiving 10 as a
Got it.
prop value,
Yeah,
and then again after later some computation,
correct,
10 value was again passed to it.
correct, correct,
Okay. And that child component is a pure one, pure
correct,
component.
correct.
Okay. So in this case, it won't be re-rendered, I think.
Got it. So I'll extend this example a little bit. Let's say you're passing an object to the child component, and the object is again reset to the same object value. Will it re-render or not?
Yeah, in case of objects, what happens is if that object coming from the parent component is memoized or memoized one or not.
Hmm.
If it's a memoized one, so that means referentially the previous object and the new object that is being passed are equal.
Correct.
In that case, it won't re-render. But
Yeah,
if you're creating a new object, referentially they are not equal, then that
exactly.
will re-render.
Good. What about functions? If you're passing
Yeah,
function
the
as a
same.
hmm,
Yeah, the same applies to functions also. So if that function is the memoized one, or we can say it's referring or pointing to the same function which was previously passed,
got it.
then re-rendering will not happen.
Wonderful. What
But
you say is
but if
hmm,
yeah, you got the answer. Yeah.
yes, exactly. Can you tell me what is component composition in React?
All right. Component composition. So in React, what happens is we can have a component which has generally what we do, we create a component, say suppose a list component, and we create LIs in UL, and then inside
Mm,
that LI.
mm.
This is all HTML composition.
Correct.
But what in React, the beauty is that we can create our own list component, which can have list items, a
Got
custom
it.
component.
Mm,
So in a way, what we are doing is we are creating a parent list component, and then we can create list items in that. So those are custom components, and the parent component can receive those children in a children prop.
mm. Yeah, can you give me
So
one realistic example where component composition can be used?
yeah, um, hmm. Generally I have seen in some of the UI kits, if I can say, like in React Bootstrap or in
Yeah,
Material UI, we see a lot of uh, rows and then columns and then table. So we create a parent table, and inside that we create a row, and
yeah,
then inside it we create a column. So
correct.
this is a real example.
True, true, true. But this is a real example. More from the project point of view or something like that, if you have to say, whenever we are having kind of an embedding process, let's say one is creating the entire container and somebody will embed the things inside that. Correct? For example, some cards or some shopping related items. So the one who create a container, he doesn't bother who will come tomorrow and insert the things. He'll only worry about the containers. So that with help of compositions, we can allow that. Like if you don't
Yeah,
pass anything, I'll render this. If you wish to pass something, you can pass. So just make sure my layout doesn't break. Correct? Good,
yeah,
Deepak. Can you please open JS Fiddle and
yeah.
present
Just
your, sure,
one example I remembered is of
sure.
accordion.
Yeah,
So accordion can be a parent one, and inside accordion we have different panels.
yeah,
And accordion itself takes care of whichever panel is open or
yeah,
closed.
exactly.
So
Yes, yes, Deepak, correct. Yeah, can you please open JS Fiddle and present your screen?
yeah, just 1 second.
Sure.
I'm sharing my screen.
Sure.
uh, it's actually giving me error that um, I'm not the host, that's why I can't share.
Ah, one
So
second, one second. Let me give you permission. Yeah. Can you try now? Zoom has added a lot of securities. Last year after the breach, right? Zoom has
mm,
made it so complicated to join the meeting.
all right, share.
Yeah. Yes, I can see your screen. Okay. So I'm sharing a code snippet in the Zoom chat. Please copy the
Mm,
snippet and paste that in the JavaScript editor. Don't run the code. Okay.
okay.
Yeah. Can you zoom in a bit so that me and the audience can see it much better way? Uh, yeah, maybe two more times. Last one
Right.
more, one more. Yeah, sorry. Ah, now better. Please guess the output, Deepak. You can take 2 minutes and try to guess the
Yeah.
output. Sorry to disturb you in the middle. So, in case if you're enjoying the session, like how Deepak is answering and how I'm asking the question, please like the video and comment whatever you feel. Like, are you liking the mock interview or this could have been improved further? Please add your comment. By more likes and comment, I get more impressions. More impression means more people have a chance of watching my video. When more people watch, obviously this channel becomes popular and I'll be able to reach a lot of people. So, please like and comment about the video and continue watching further. Thank you so much.
So we have a function here, we have an object length, and we have this function arguments of 0, and then we are calling it. Okay. So we are calling object.method, and method, inside this method we are passing fn. So this fn, and we call this fn. Okay, and this is called using this object. So here this will be pointing to this object. So the length here could, I think it should be 5, because this might be pointing to object. Okay. Uh, and then here we have arguments of 0, and then we are calling it. So we are calling that function from here, and inside we don't have this, and here this should give 10. I've quickly done it. I'll try to explain my thought process, what I am
First
thinking.
confirm the output. Yeah, first confirm what will be the output.
Okay. So for this first call,
Yeah.
Passing the function. So inside this, we are calling from here, and so here we don't have anything, but by default it will be where it is being called. So it's being called from here. So this will be 5, and this is again being called from here only, not from the parent. And inside this is pointing to this object. Okay, this will also be 5. Yeah, so I think
I
this
and 5.
should return, yeah, this will return 5, and this will also return 5, but I might be wrong.
Sure. Top left. You see a run icon. Please click. Top left.
Just one
Extreme
second.
left. Extreme left. No, top say left near the URL.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, this one.
Yes, yes, please. Yeah. So you're seeing the in bottom right, you're seeing the output.
Yeah, 10 and then 2.
Yeah. Any idea why 10 and 2? You can try, take a minute and try to deduce.
So 10, I understand. Like this is returning 10.
Yeah.
So what this means is this here is pointing to window actually.
Hmm.
I was thinking that it's pointing to this object, but
Hmm.
this is pointing to window, and the length variable is coming from the
Hmm.
parent window object.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Any
And
idea?
for
Yes.
this, was that right one?
Yeah, that is correct. Yes, what you're saying is right. Yeah. Basically, it
Okay,
doesn't take
and
objects reference because you're calling a function which is completely external. Let's say there is a method inside the object, like a method 2, which has a function and that you are invoking. That time it will look for the reference in the object, correct? So now you're calling somewhere something altogether external function. So there is nothing of this objects, this you are not passing. So there, this points to window. Okay. Any idea why 2 is printing?
yeah, so this one is interesting. So we have fn, and what it's saying is we have 2 arguments passed to this.
Mm,
It's saying arguments of 0 and
mm,
invoking it.
mm.
In arguments of 0, we see that it's fn.
Correct.
fn. And fn is called. Now, fn is called this way. Okay. So here, what I see is this might be referring to that function.
Mm.
To yeah, this might be referring to uh, arguments of 0 is an fn, and fn is this. And when this function is called, it's saying this function's length. Mm, Yeah, what I can guess right now, I'm not sure whether I'm right or wrong, but I think in this case, this is pointing to the function.
Okay, function as in the one that you're passing in line number 14, correct? The function that you're passing in line number 14 is which is on line number 2, correct?
Yeah,
I mean,
this
that
fn.
how 2 can come.
Mm,
Do one thing in line number 14, after function comma 1, add comma 2, line number 14.
mm.
After 1, yeah, 1 comma 2. Please run. Now you get a
That
sense,
gives
correct?
3. Yeah. So this is the method which is being passed.
Hmm. No, no,
Yes,
object dot
here.
method is in line number 8. That only you are calling. Okay. So now
Mm.
how 2 became 3? You got a sense, right? How 2 is 2 turned into 3.
Oh, this is actually the arguments array.
You got it. Yes. So
Yeah.
that's what I say. Maybe even if you work with JavaScript our whole life, not that you
Mm.
couldn't guess, none of us will be able to master it. I'm thinking there'll be
Yeah.
somewhere or the other a edge case where we all miss. Okay, good. I'll share one last snippet with you. Okay, so that will this is a one moment. I'll share. Yeah. Can you just copy the snippet and paste there? Again, you don't please don't run. Yeah,
Yep. I can remove this.
yeah. Please remove. Yeah, please guess the output. Much straightforward. Yeah.
So we are creating a function, self-invoking it. So um, write it down here. So we'll get 1 first of all, then uh, 4 straight away. Then these two will go in queue, as this is having both a set timeout. So both are set timeout. This first one is 0, so this should execute first.
Mm.
Then 2, that is after 1 second.
Sure.
Uh,
Please run. Yeah, yeah.
mm,
You're
yeah,
confident?
that's
This is the order.
yeah. Yeah, I think I don't see any tricky thing here. So
Please run. Please run. Top left. So 1, 4, 3, 2. Correct?
yep.
Let's do this. In line number 4, whatever you have in line number 4, set time mode is taking basically a function, right? Can you convert that into a self-invoking function?
All right. So this way.
Yes. So you have to add one more bracket in the starting and the end.
Oh yeah.
Mm, yeah. Now can you guess the output?
Mm. So basically, this will be invoked immediately.
Mm,
So the um, so we'll have 1 as previous, and then this will be immediately executed.
mm,
So this will give us 3.
mm.
Then we'll have 4, and then we'll have 2.
Yeah. Please explain why that will be immediately executed.
Yeah. So we what we have done is this part is creating a function, and these two parentheses are immediately executing that function.
Sure. As per
And
event loop concept, what should happen whenever set time mode is encountered?
I missed that. Can you repeat it?
As per event loop concept, whenever a set time mode is encountered, what should the JavaScript engine do? Will it take it from
Yeah.
call stack and move somewhere else, or what is the process?
Yeah. So whenever set timeout is encountered
Yeah.
and whatever function is provided,
Mm,
that set timeout executes, but this callback is moved into a queue,
mm,
and uh, it's a queue in uh, which will wait for this particular time
mm,
to complete,
mm,
and then the event loop will check if the execution stack is empty or not. If it's empty, then it will bring that pending callback into the stack, and that will be executed.
Correct. So now in this case, set timeout is there. Inside that, there is a self-invoking function. Correct. How come the function will execute immediately? It
Yeah.
cannot
So
directly into a call stack, right? It cannot directly take into call stack as per the explanation. Correct.
yes. So what I see here is like in the difference between line number 3 and 4 is that this is a reference to a function.
Hmm.
Consider it as a callback,
Got it.
but this is actually executed immediately.
Hmm. Got it.
So yeah.
Sure. So in line number 4, instead of 0, make it 3 second. Like 300, 3 second. Okay. Yeah. I'm not asking the output. In this case now, after 3 seconds, something has to happen. What will happen? So will a set timeout to be
Okay.
registered or not? That you tell me.
Okay. Mm, so this is a function and it's returned. So the output of this expression would be undefined actually. And
Correct.
what 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 set timeout will be receiving is basically once this is executed, it will be receiving undefined or void, we can say.
Got it.
And uh, so there is a chance that it might check that if undefined is passed as a callback to
Yeah.
set timeout, then
Yeah.
it won't do anything.
Mm, true, true. Correct. What you said is absolutely right, Deepak. Okay. Many get confused in this process. First of all, many will not be able to guess the output only, the order of. Even if they're able to guess the order, whenever a self-invoking function comes, they get confused. Okay. Even after self-invoking function, whenever this undefined kind of a concepts come, they further get confused. You're able to answer all the things well. Can you stop sharing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, stop.
Okay. So yeah, Deepak. So I mean, I did not get to know how the time flew. We almost finished half an hour already. Okay. So
Okay.
first, please feel free to ask me, Deepak, if you have any questions for me.
Mm,
Not specifically from interview. If you have any other questions, also generally also you can ask. Yeah.
um, I don't have any
Good.
question right now.
Sure. Sure, Deepak.
Uh, yeah.
Yes, good, good, Deepak. I'll just give pass on my feedback, Deepak. Every viewer also got my feedback. I don't have to explicitly say it. Yeah, I mean, it was a very clean, neat interview. Not just the mock interview that I take for the channel. Overall, in my interview process, very few will have very in-depth knowledge. Okay, and I think you will also be taking interviews for a lot of candidates. There is a concept of breadth and depth, where people touch base on a lot of topics and they get in whenever they feel candidate might not be confident. Okay, with my breadth and depth, whatever I applied with, you have good amount of knowledge on all the concepts. Okay, like first thing always I see is the technical communication. Communication is one thing. Technical communication is very, very important. Correct. Let's say when I ask you function currying, you do not say like I'll type and explain. Correct, because as a developer our job is not just the coding. You should be able to articulate our thoughts to a lot of folks. Correct. So the technical communication part is very, very good. And the second part is the conceptual knowledge. This is something that you applaud in an engineer after a point, like senior engineer like you, 8 year, 10 year. Whenever some concepts come, they should be able to articulate it well. I mean, explain the with the help of concept, like the pure component example which I might have asked. Like you're passing a function, you're passing an object, you clearly know what is happening under the hood. That is something that will give a respect to engineer after a point. Correct. Just because if somebody becomes an architect, people will not respect. Only because he has that kind of a knowledge, then only people respect. So fundamental knowledge is very, very good. Third point is the guessing the output, the where the snippet driven thing. So first you were unable to answer, I mean partially you were right, second you are able to answer clearly. Okay, first question, with my experience I haven't seen anyone answering in the first go, including me. Okay, it's not straightforward. I mean obviously I also don't say it is something with that we can judge an engineer, but it also depends on how depth you have understood. That's the only thing. Just because somebody says one, guess the output wrong, that doesn't mean they are bad. Correct. But only thing we just try to evaluate how depth they are able to understand, or just connect between the thoughts. Only that I can tell. Maybe more snippet driven questions you can solve. Rest seems to be good. I mean, if you are applying for tier 2 and tier 3, you're already there. Maybe if you're applying for tier 1, you very well know. Maybe you may have to practice if you're not done machine coding and the DSA. That's all I have to say. Any other questions you have, Deepak?
No, it was really good to communicate with you and
Yeah.
doing this.
Yes.
So
Yes.
eh,
Great, Deepak. Yeah.
actually, the general thing is it's always good to listen to someone who can give a feedback to you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
Yes. Yes.
Thanks.
Sure, Deepak. Like I mentioned, definitely I'll share a detailed feedback over the email. And hope you're watching Uncommon Geeks, Deepak, my YouTube channel. How are you thinking? How the videos are coming?
It's good, and I would say most of us, most of us, what happens is we really we try very hard to understand things and then come up with our answers,
Yeah.
but we don't know where a mistake is happening and where we need to work upon.
Correct.
So this is and this very much happens when you are in an early phase, when you're learning something and trying and hustling and doing all those things. So that information is very valuable, which you are passing in your like channel, that this is something which you should work upon, and this is your thought process. This should be your thought process to
Yeah.
explain a solution to any interviewer.
Got it.
This is a very valuable thing I'm getting from your videos.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Deepak. Okay. Fine, Deepak. Then we are almost at the end of the interview. It was very nice talking to you. I mean, you are a senior engineer, good that I could explore, and I also learn a lot of things from you. Generally, sometimes I get kind of very fast. Sometimes now I have reduced a lot. But even before the questions asked, people try to jump in and try to answer. I had that attitude long way back. But I see you, whenever you communicate, you are very matured. Like you wait until the question is fully asked. That is one of the very important quality in interview. You should never jump in. Correct? You should fully listen to the question, because interviewer at the end say I was still explaining, you jumped in. Correct? So that we should have that patience, and the whenever total listening skills, how the communication skills are important in the interview, listening skills are also equally important. I that is something that I still working on, and I got to learn that from you further well. Okay? Thank you. Thank you, Deepak. Very nice talking to
Thank
you.
you.
Have a good day.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you. Bye.
Again, welcome back. I think hope you enjoyed the interview session with Deepak. Deepak is a very senior engineer and he was able to answer all the different areas that I asked him the question, whether it is conceptual, whether it is technical communication, or whether it is the problem solving, depending on the snippets getting the output. He was absolutely on top notch. So, like I mentioned, him is almost at the he could easily clear most of the tier 2 and tier 3 interviews if he appear to. So I'm very happy I could interview him as he's a senior to me as well. I learned the sense, like I mentioned, I got that knowledge of being very calm in the interview. I'm still trying to be more better at it, where sometimes I get quite enthused and I'll try to answer much quickly. So but Deepak was very calm throughout the interview. You might have observed him. So where he waited for the question to complete, he took his time, then he was trying to give a right answer. So this is a strategy. If some of you who are at least in junior and mid level will have a little more enthusiasm, where they will not listen for the question completion, so please don't do that. Like how Deepak did properly in the interview, please follow this method of comment compost. Okay. And if you're someone who is also looking for a free mock interview like this, okay, please register in the Google form, which is there in the comment section. It's very obvious I'll not be able to take interview for all, but whomsoever possible, I'll definitely try to take. If not now, in future, like whenever I need some partners for my video, I'll definitely reach out to you. I take very basic minimal details to contact you. Okay. And if the form is inactive, it's an indication, because somebody may watch this video after 1 year. If the form is inactive, it's an indication I'm no longer taking the mock interview at that point in time. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. If you're not like the video, please like the video, comment whatever you felt in the mock interview. Was it beneficial for you, etc. The question that snippets that I asked in the interview, that snippets are available in my GitHub repository. I'll try to link that in the description. Please go ahead and download the questions and practice on your own. My Medium blog URL is also in the description. Please follow me on Medium. Almost every week I write a very interesting article which will be helpful for you to clear your interview in the front end domain. So please follow me on Medium and subscribe to my newsletter. Star my GitHub project so that I'll be able to add more content to my GitHub project, and the project becomes visible whenever people search in the Google, etc. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you in next video.